Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our NCO webinar. It's my favourite time of the week. It's Friday afternoon, and we're here with all our, hopefully all our NCO children. I can see you're all arriving. All the numbers are rising and rising and rising. So many of you here already. So welcome. I'm joined today by two amazing women who work in politics. Thangam Debbonaire, who is a politician in Bristol. Hi, Thangam.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
And Emily Benn. Hi, Emily.
Hi. Hi, team.
So we're going to be chatting to them. They have a string quartet. They're a cellist and a violinist, and they have a string quartet that plays in Parliament. So they are people who have amazing lives, but fit music into it in different ways. Now, I know many of you this week have had the really sad news that we're not going to be running our courses this year. Which is really super sad for all of us. But I do want to assure you from everybody at NCO that we are thinking of you all the time. We love seeing the pictures that you send in to us. Any pictures and any videos we love to see because it just shares the NCO joy. And we are doing everything we can to try and get some activity going with you as soon as we possibly can. Now, there is going to be a digital membership of NCO going forward, which we're working on right now. We're building the platform and we're looking at different content. And there's a survey that's going out to you and to your parents about what it is that you would really like us to do. So we really want to get it right for you. So please take the time to look at that survey, fill it in and tell us what you want, and we will do our very best to deliver it for you. So in order to join in with the webinar, I'm sure most of you know, at the bottom of the screen, there's a Q&A button. I can see somebody's already asked a question, so that's very exciting. And there's also going to be some polling, so some things to vote on that will pop up for you to vote. So without further ado, Thangam, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Thangam Debbonaire and I am a cellist. I learnt to play the cello when I was 4 and I was a member of not National Children's Orchestra but the Big Brother or Sister National Youth Orchestra for 4 years. 4 of the really happiest times, I think, of my teenage years. I wasn't terribly fond of teenagerhood, but what I did love was my NYO courses, and I'm guessing that you're probably missing your NCO courses the same way I missed my NYO courses once I was too old to go. And I'm now a Member of Parliament. I've been a Member of Parliament since 2015, and I'm now what's called the Shadow Secretary of State for Housing, which sounds a lot grander than it really is. It basically means that I have to watch what the government are doing on housing, and I have to try and check what they're doing, like checking their homework. But I also still play the cello, which you should be able to see in the corner there. That is my lockdown companion of choice.
Fantastic, thank you, Thangam. Emily, could you introduce yourself for us?
Hi everyone, I'm Emily Benn. I'm a violinist. Here's my violin. Unfortunately, I wasn't cool enough to be in NCO when I was growing up, but my brother was. He's a cellist. I started playing the violin when I was 5. I loved it. That was my total dream. All my best friends were from junior college when I was growing up, or orchestra courses, and I missed those times and going around playing, especially when we got to go tour around Europe. I work in politics too. I've been a parliamentary candidate a few times like Thangam. I was doing that even when I was still studying at junior college and at university. I've been a local councillor in South London, where I am now, and I run a political ideas festival where we get people from all different viewpoints to come and talk together about all the stuff that's important. And I am a politics researcher, so I write some books with a member of the House of Lords talking about old people and aging and all that kind of fun stuff. But yeah, violin, and I'm first violin in the quartet with Thangam, and I miss playing all the time, and I have not done anywhere near as much practice as I should have done during this lockdown period.
Great. I'm just going to share do a quick screen share for you to show you these guys. This is the House of Parliament, and this is who we've been joined with by today, and the Houses of Parliament again. And here is the lovely Thangam in action. What was happening there?
Wow. Well, the bottom, the picture with me with all the microphones, that was on election night in 2015. That's me making my acceptance speech. That's me going, oh my goodness, I won. The one on the bottom on the other side is me making what's called my maiden speech, which is a weird way of saying that's the first time I spoke in Parliament. And that was 5 years ago next Tuesday. And the one at the top is me announcing a vote during the Brexit debates when we were voting late into the night, and they're all quite tense. And unusually, I'm announcing it because actually my side had won, and normally my side doesn't win. So that was quite a moment for me.
Fantastic. And here you are. This is your quartet.
Oh, look at us.
Look at us. That's in my flat where we sometimes rehearse. We rehearse in my office in my flat because I'm the cellist. So I plead, I've got the biggest thing to carry. You all have to come to me.
I make sure that we always take a photograph when we rehearse. So that is us.
And could you tell us a little bit about the other guys in the quartet?
Well, I'll do the violinist. So Kathy, who's sitting down on the left, she is a Channel 4 news presenter, and she plays the violin. So that often means we have to rehearse late at night because Kathy has to present the news. So she comes from the studio looking much more glamorous than me, that's for sure.
So true. No, and me. Kathy, I mean, sometimes especially during the Brexit votes, when we had late night votes and she was reading the news, and we really were very late at night rehearsing, like the only other living things on Parliament's buildings were the security guards and the mice and us. And then Catherine, who's the viola player, she's also a local councillor, and she also works for a member of Parliament, and she's I think she's probably the one of us that's had the most professional musician playing. What was she in? Some famous film that I can never remember, Emily?
She played for Robbie, Love Actually, and she played for Robbie Williams when he was doing his tours, which I think is pretty cool, but that's probably showing my age.
Well, I definitely think it's pretty cool. And I'd actually been to see Robbie Williams on tour, so I like to think that I saw Catherine play a mega performance of Robbie Williams.
Pretty cool.
Brilliant. And this is you playing you actually play in the Houses of Parliament?
Yes.
That was quite fun.
Tell us about that, Thangam.
Well, I mean, Emily and I, this was about, 6 months ago, nearly a year ago now. Emily,
a year ago, yeah.
We were just about to do our very first concert in the house of Mr. Speaker, who is the man that sits in that big chair. If you ever watch Parliament, he sits in the big chair, and his name was John Bercow, and that was until the general election last December. And I think he's quite fond of us, both me and Emily. So Emily wanted us to rehearse in there, and I didn't think that we could get away with it, but she said, I bet John would let us, and she was right, he did. He said we could. And the doorkeepers, who are sort of the men that sort of, and women who sort of look after the parliamentary building, the men and women, they rather poetically, one by one, tiptoed in to see what was going on. Oh, and I'm wearing Kathy's shoes there. I don't know if you can tell, because predictably I had no glamorous shoes whatsoever. And you wouldn't think I could get into Kathy's shoes, but weirdly, we've got the same size feet.
Brilliant. And here is Emily. Tell us something about these pictures of you and your life.
That's so glam.
Oh my word. Wow. Okay, so the top left, that's me playing. I'm actually playing where the Prime Minister stands when he does the Prime Minister's questions.
Literally.
But I thought instead of speaking, I thought maybe the violin would be cool. On the top right, that is me looking less formal at Glastonbury. I'm a massive Glastonbury Music Festival fan. If you guys ever get a chance to go later in life, it is amazing. I mean, every type of music. And as you can see, one of my friends decided to paint my face. I am a big football fan, as you might be able to tell from my very excited face. That was the first time I went to Tottenham Hotspur's new stadium, for any Spurs fans. And I cannot believe it, but we won 5-0. And as you can see, I was just one of the best days of my life. And then on the left, that is me and my granddad when he was still alive. My granddad was an MP for actually in Bristol for a really long time with Thangam, and then in Derbyshire. And that was just after I made my first speech at Labour Party conference in front of a few thousand people. My granddad was obviously way too emotional, so he burst into tears when I started talking. And that was just after I got chosen to be the youngest ever Labour candidate. So he was being a very supportive granddad.
Amazing. Great. So I'll come out of the screen share now. And we've got our first questions. Here we are from Elia. For you, Thangam, what's it like to be a politician?
I think it is one of the most interesting jobs anyone could ever do, because you get to have to think about all sorts of things. I represent 130,000 people. That's quite large. Most constituencies don't have that many people, and there's only one MP who's got to represent more, and that's the MP for the Isle of Wight. And I have to think about what those people need, whether that's, you know, better funding for their schools, or they need better parks, or at the moment how they're all struggling and managing to cope with the lockdown. And that's what I do here in Bristol. And then the other part of my job is in Parliament, which is in that chamber that you just saw there. We speak on behalf of the people that we represent, but also we try to change the law, or if actually more often when it's the government, and the moment the political party that I'm in, we're not in government, we don't have the most MPs. So the party that does, that's actually running the country, when they've got laws they want to change, it's our job to sort of check their homework and read every bit of it and say, oh, you missed a bit here, I'm not sure about this bit, and actually work on quite a lot of the detail of what the law is going to be like when it's operating in practice. So we represent people, we try and help people, and we help make or shape the law.
Fantastic. So Emily, there's one coming for you. Joshua wants to know, how do you balance your life in the political world with your music making?
Well, music is the best way of like letting go of stress, and just like when I was like growing up and at school, like so many of my best friends I've met through music, so I'm having a great time and with my friends as well as playing music. It's harder to fit in. We play late at night. We have to just play late at night. I didn't normally practice at 10:30 or 11 as much before, but it's always been, the thing is I can't imagine my life without playing the violin lots. No. And there was a period of a few months, I remember once I hadn't played the violin at all, and it just felt strange, and I had to do it. But it's you just have to be good at time management, but if you love it so much, it becomes a lot easier.
Great. There's another one coming from Eliza and Marina for you, Thangam. Did you ever consider becoming a musician? And at what point did you decide maybe you weren't going to be a musician, or did you always know you wanted to be in politics? Or how did your career work when you were obviously such an amazing musician as a child?
Oh, well, I never really had a good plan. I just had been playing the cello for so long, I couldn't imagine really a life without it. And my parents were both pianists, and I came from a very musical family, so sort of being involved in music was such a big part of who we were. But also, as well as National Youth Orchestra, I then went on to Chet's, Cheetham School of Music, and so I was surrounded by people who were intending to go into it professionally. And indeed I did for some time, even though I had a few forays into other things. I actually did maths at university, but I really played the cello far too much to do any good at the maths. And I would say I always wanted to be a musician, whether that was professional or amateur. I hadn't quite worked it out. And I carried on, even though I had a completely different job from the age of about 25, I carried on playing the cello, and I carried on occasionally working professionally until I was about 40, because I began to realize that you just can't keep up the level of practice to be as good as you want to be and play professionally and do another job. It's really tricky. You can be good, don't get me wrong. I think you can, like Emily's a really good example of that, of how you can combine a full-time job and still play really brilliantly. But it's really hard to play reliably at a professional standard and do another job, because that whole routine that you're in, a sort of 5 hours practice and rehearsals and things like that, you just can't fit it around another job. So now I'm a really happy amateur. It was a decision actually to stop calling myself a professional cellist. That was the only decision I ever took, really. But I still think of myself as a cellist.
Great. Oh, we've got a poll, our first poll, okay, and it's
I like a poll.
So can you see it? If Emily did not work in politics, she'd like to be a professor of politics at a major university, to be a conductor of the Royal Ballet in Covent Garden, at the Royal Opera House, to be the BBC's political correspondent, or to be a footballer and a member of the England team.
So cool.
Okay. So we'll let everybody vote on those, and then we'll come back to it in a minute. And in the meantime, can I ask you, Emily, from Alayo again, what's it like to work in politics with somebody from an opposite party to you?
It's funny because actually it can be a lot easier than you'd think. Yeah. Because especially if you're as interested in politics as I am, and the people that I interact and work with, you're doing it because you're passionate and you believe in it. And when you're that passionate and believe in it, it doesn't make sense to constantly try and stop other views, because actually if you want the best opinion, you sometimes need people that disagree with you to challenge you, and actually everyone often has the same aim, even if you disagree with how you're going to try and get there. So actually it's and also sometimes people are rude, I can't lie, but also sometimes people on your own side are rude.
That's true.
So it doesn't you know, it party affiliation and like different parties and different views doesn't correlate necessarily at all to how well you can get on with people. You get on with the people that want to help and work with you, and wherever they're from.
Fantastic answer. Now, it looks like our poll is done. So only 6% think you want to be a professor of politics, 10% a conductor, 13% the BBC's political correspondent, and a large 71% think you want to be a footballer and a member of the England team.
Oh my word.
Is that true, Emily?
Drum roll. What's the
I'm
answer?
afraid. I mean, you guys are almost there, because that is the number 2 is a footballer, but number 1, I'm afraid, is be a conductor at the Opera House. Oh. But maybe I should follow you guys' advice. 71%. Wow. Okay, yeah, sorry. My real dream is to be a conductor. So sorry.
Brilliant. Well, obviously, you've got lots of talents, all different areas. Right. So for you, Thangam, would it be possible to bring up in Parliament from Joshua the importance of music education for a younger generation?
It most certainly would, Joshua, and indeed I have many times. And I've just going to write myself a note with my trusty pen and notebooks. I'm an old-fashioned kind of person. I like a pen and notebook. And I'm going to write down from National Children's Orchestra, bring up music education. And because I am this thing called the Shadow Secretary of State for Housing, at the moment I only speak in Parliament on housing, but I have colleagues, friends of mine, who do speak. It's their job to be spokesperson for our party on music and on music education, and I will make sure that I'm badgering them quite a bit to make sure that they're championing music education. I mean, I don't know what you all had, but when I was young, which was like 100 gazillion years ago, there was this thing called free music education for everybody. And we had free orchestras, local orchestras, as well as there was National Youth Orchestra, which wasn't free, but it was, you know, it was. But my local orchestras, there were 5 orchestras that I could progress through for free, and peripatetic music teaching was there, and it was really widespread. And I really want that for everybody. Now, I know some parts of the country you can have that, but there also, I think, needs to be something better, which I definitely didn't have at school, which is really, really high quality support for teachers in primary and secondary schools to be better supported, to give you even more musical experiences, because I think it's quite a tough job, actually. But I would like there to be much, much more. You probably already know this, but the more music education you have, the better you are at everything else. That's what the research tells us. I believe that, by the way. I think it's true.
It's totally true. Totally true. Okay, a question from Victor for you, Emily. Do you know if there are any other musicians in Parliament?
Yeah, there are. There's definitely a couple of pianists who we are trying to get to play a piano like quintet, though without much success so far. There's a rock band in Parliament, slightly different type of music for us, but they play. I think they even tour around the country.
I think so.
Playing their, I don't know, rock. I guess rock tunes. I don't know what the right word is to say. And there's a clarinetist I heard on the grapevine, who we should also really get involved. So there are, and when we played our first concert in the Speaker's House in Parliament, and there were loads of people that came, a few people kind of thought to themselves, oh, maybe we should try and get involved. So if you know of anyone and you come across them, tell them to call us, because we want to do different ensembles, and there are like a million pieces I want to play, so I need some other people. I'd love another cello. I want to do the Mendelssohn Octet, if anyone
oh yes, please.
Yeah, or not.
Yes.
So we need a whole nother quartet.
We do.
And I want to play the Schubert string quintet, so I need another cello. I could ask my brother if he's feeling nice, but
I'd be a bit intimidated.
Yeah, he's too good. He's too good for me.
And me.
So please find out, and maybe we should start a campaign to get more musicians to try and be MPs.
I think so, but I think also not just MPs, because there's actually, you may not realise it, but MPs, there's only 650 of us, but there are thousands of other people who work in Parliament in one way or another, and I think we should try and get a few more of them to put themselves forward, because we are only 1 MP and 3 other people involved in Parliament. Ooh, there's a poll.
There's a poll for you, Thangam, this time. Her favourite treats are all vegan. Which is her favourite? A vegan Magnum, vegan chocolate cake, vegan Percy Pigs, which do exist apparently, because I googled it today. Green and Black's dark ginger chocolate, Skittles, or pancakes. So what is her favourite treat? Now get voting. There's all sorts of interesting answers coming in. I can see. Brilliant. Okay, now let's see. From Horatio, perhaps for you, Emily, do you know where the best acoustics are in the Houses of Parliament?
Well, we found some pretty bad acoustics.
Yeah.
The office that we often rehearse in, it could be worse though.
Yeah.
But it's not ideal. The chamber, where the photo was earlier, that was actually a pretty good acoustic. The acoustic where we played our first concert scared me massively because I could only hear me and no one else in the quartet, which is not ideal because I didn't want to hear all my mistakes.
She didn't make any mistakes.
There are some bad. There are a few places that I'd love to play there that I think would be pretty good. We just need to be able to go and play there, but it's not set up just for music. So there are some pretty bad ones, but there's a place in the House of Lords, which there's a big room that I think would have a nice boomy acoustic. But we got to try it out.
We do.
Great. Okay, for you, Thangam, a question from Lana Jackson. What is your favourite thing about working in Parliament?
Oh, wow. This might sound really cheesy, but it's knowing that if I think there's a problem in the world or the country or Bristol, that I do actually have some way of trying to fix it. Now, the things that you want to fix, you might wake up on a Monday morning with 10 things you want to fix, and you can try lots of different ways to fix them, and maybe only 1 or 2 of them will get fixed. But that's 1 or 2 of them out of 10. And a friend of mine who's an MP, much more experienced than me, who got elected in 1980 something, said to me, you have to kind of work on all 10 or all 20 because you won't succeed at all 20, but you can't tell at the front end which one it will be. So I suppose one of my favourite things is the surprise of finding out which things actually work. The other thing is a really nerdy techie thing. I absolutely love working on what are called bills. They're things that are going to be laws, but not quite yet. It's a really nerdy thing and I really enjoy it. The other thing is, like most jobs really, a lot of the people that I work with, that's probably the best. I mean, there are some fantastic, absolutely wonderful people. The people that work in the House of Commons Library. Oh, the House of Commons Library. It's gorgeous. I love it. It overlooks the River Thames. It's got people in it who just seem to know everything. The sheer history. So that's loads of things. Sorry. I mean, the history is incredible sometimes, that you walk around and you think, gosh, I'm just standing on the place where Nelson Mandela addressed both houses of Parliament. That's pretty cool. And I walk over that every day, at least once. And it's an extraordinary feeling sometimes.
Yeah, amazing. Great. So let's find out what your favourite treat is. So the voting is in. Only 8% think Skittles, 11% pancakes, 15% both vegan Magnum and vegan chocolate cake, 23% green and black's dark ginger chocolate, and 29% vegan Percy pigs. There we are.
Interesting. Ooh.
So drum roll.
Wow.
What's the answer?
Well, drum roll, I'm afraid to say, Percy Pig voters, you're wrong. It's not Percy Pigs. In fact, that's probably the only one on there I definitely don't like. No, it would be a tie. It would be the top 2, vegan Magnum and vegan chocolate cake. And my husband, I hope he can't hear me because he makes the vegan pancakes and he's not a vegan. And they're quite good. But my vegan chocolate cake's better. It's so good that he can't tell that it's vegan, and because if he could, he wouldn't eat it. And vegan Magnum, which is just amazing, absolutely just brilliant. In fact, I've got one in my freezer that I'm going to have as soon as this is over.
Brilliant, something to look forward to. Okay, we've got a question from Phoebe Burgess for you, Emily. What's your favourite piece of music to play?
This is the hardest. That's a really hard question. Oh dear. Okay, my favourite. I'm just going to do 2 answers. So one for orchestra and one for string quartet, because I could not choose, sorry. My favourite piece to play in a string quartet is, I think, oh dear. Okay, either the Debussy string quartet or Death and the Maiden, the Schubert. They're pretty good. Pretty hard, but pretty good. Okay, favourite piece to play in an orchestra, Tchaikovsky Symphony No. 6 or Rachmaninoff Symphony No. 2. So that's 4 answers, I'm sorry, but they're all great.
I cheated too, though, didn't I?
Right. Oh, gosh, we've got another poll. This is for Emily. She loves a jacket potato, but what's her favourite topping? Is it just butter with a little salt and pepper, butter and cheese, butter and beans, or cheese and beans. She's really classy, Emily, isn't she?
She is. She is very classy.
It's my favourite meal of all time. So there you go.
Okay, so we're going to see what people think. Okay, let's see. Oh, I know what I'll do now. I will share some of the selfies from last week, because we had such a lovely session last week with MYO, and we had this really fun selfie at the end. Oh, can you see the poll on there still? No, good. Okay, so there we are. That was our selfie at the end, and these are some lovely pictures that you all sent in of all you guys out there with our selfies at the end. And we're going to get ready to do your selfie at the end of this one, because we've got some fun things lined up, some fun moves. But it's so lovely to see. I can't tell you how lovely it is for us to see you all out there enjoying the webinars and having. And look, there's even a cat enjoying the webinar, or maybe he's nodded off. Maybe he was bored. And there's some little cellos, I think, preparing for Jess Gillam's virtual orchestra. This we got this sent in about with this Richard Pinsent, who sent in him doing a little flute competition. And then Joshua, this amazing guy, he's running 341 kilometers, running and rowing, which is the distance from Big Ben to the Eiffel Tower, to raise money for the NHS. So he is doing amazing work. So that's on our Facebook page. So if you want to sponsor Joshua, you can go on there and do that. So I'll stop there on that, and we'll come back to our poll, Emily, which says, okay, 46% think cheese and beans. What's the answer?
Well done, team. Yeah, it is cheese and beans. And I've got to tell you, for the first 3 weeks this lockdown, that's the only thing I ate. Because I can't cook. I cannot cook. So that is all I had. So it's great.
So how do you do your baked potatoes? Do you do them in the oven or in the microwave?
I can't. I have no patience for cooking. I hate cooking. I can't do it. So I do them in the microwave, and they're not. I can't make them very well, but they're just about okay. Sometimes they're not done, but I don't know. I can't. I really, honestly, it's terrible. I'm an absolutely terrible cook. So
we've been really worried about her, the quartet. We've been really concerned that she's not eating properly and that she's getting malnourished.
Yeah,
she seems pretty healthy. She assures us she is eating a varied diet of sorts. No, it's not that varied, is it?
Kinda. Yeah.
I think you need to send her a fruit and vegetable package.
Yeah, I think we do.
Emergency supplies.
But would you know what to do with them, Emily, if we sent you emergency fruit and veg?
Not if I have to cook them. I can eat raw fruit, but I don't know about the vegetables. Sorry.
Okay, brilliant. Right, up to our next question, which is from Louisa, who says, have you named your instruments? We often get this question. So have you named your instrument, Thangam?
No. I didn't even know that people would do that. So I'm really sorry if you've all got names for your instruments, but look, I have 2 cellos that I play. This is my second best one. My best one is in London, poor lonely cello. I left it at the beginning of the lockdown thinking I'd be back soon, and it's been missing me for 2 months. Neither it nor this poor old second best one have a name. I'm really sorry. I mean, feel free to try naming them, but they don't give me any sort of sense of name.
Has yours got a name, Emily?
No, I'm really sorry. I had no idea this was a thing. So I've obviously been missing out for like 25 years since I've been playing violin. I guess I could try now, but
okay. Well, why don't we ask the kids if you want to send any fun and funky names in on the chat for a cello or a violin that lives in the Houses of Parliament and does an amazing job, then that would be quite exciting to find out what you think they should be called. Okay, so Zoe Bendel has asked, who shall I ask this one to? The question is, what is your most embarrassing moment in music? And I think I'm going to ask Thang.
Oh, I was in a concert. I was playing in a chamber opera where there were 4 singers and 4 musicians, and I was the cellist. And we'd been playing it for months. We'd been on tour, and I was listening to a beautiful solo. I think it was the baritone singing, and I was thinking, oh, this is lovely. I don't recall ever hearing this before. I wonder why I never normally hear this. And it was because I was supposed to be playing, and I had just completely stopped playing, and I had apparently stopped playing for quite some time, and I have no idea why. I think I was just really into the music and the drama. It was a story about a lion tamer, and he was about to be killed, and he was singing his beautiful song, and I was thinking, oh, this is amazing. I was supposed to be playing, and it was embarrassing because, of course, musicians really, really make fun of you when that sort of thing happens, and I got a lot of teasing for a very long time. So don't do that. Pay attention.
And Emily, have you ever had an embarrassing moment?
I think I probably had so many embarrassing moments I don't even know where to start. I think one that I remember, I think it was at junior college, and it was like the concerto competition winner was playing the Dvorak cello concerto, and for that, for some reason I had found myself leading, and there was this big, in the second movement, there's this two big chords. One of them is major, one of them is minor. And in the minor one, I decided to play really loudly major, and it completely put the soloist off. He was like, what is going on? And the conductor was like, what are you doing? And everyone was just like, what is happening here? I don't know why. I came in early and with the wrong chord. So
We've all
that
done
was good. That was great.
Did you give your desk partner dagger looks like?
It was
What
you.
you
My desk partner was, I think, too busy laughing at just how ridiculous it sounded. It just was bad, really bad. So do pay attention to C sharps, naturals, flats, all that kind of thing.
Okay, we've got some suggestions coming in for your instrument. How about Chirpy the cello?
I do like alliteration, so that's quite a contender.
Chirpy the cello's quite up there. And we've got two people who've actually said David Bowie.
Oh!
W-I.
Oh!
So
that's a contender. Yeah, I like that one.
Mr. Captain Cello, Parliamentino. Oh, I like that one. Or the Right Honourable Cello. So,
these are all great. I'm writing them down.
Yeah, we're writing them down and we can make a decision maybe. Okay, so we've got another poll, which is for Thangam. This is about hobbies. Which of these hobbies does Thangam enjoy? Knitting, gardening, running, creative writing, learning Arabic, and playing the cello. Okay, so we'll see what it is that she enjoys doing.
Genuinely, those are all my hobbies, but it looks a bit, gosh. Yeah, I was a brownie as a child. As well as playing the cello, I was a brownie, and I did half like to collect badges, and you can sort of tell, can't you? This is a real list of brownie badges. I'm not ashamed, I'm proud.
Well, the voting is definitely coming out in favour of your cello. At the moment, it's 63% cellos. 12 Arabic, 12 creative writing, 7 gardening, 2 running. Oh. Nobody thinks you're a runner, and 4% knitting. So,
good response.
Right, what's the answer then?
Well, the answer, of course, is the cello. And I love the fact that running came at bottom, because my entire life, I really, really did not get sport, didn't like sport, didn't do sport. In fact, in Chets, I can say this now, I never went to PE. And I discovered that if I just didn't go at the beginning of term, my PE teacher didn't realise. And I'm afraid I was a bit of a girly swat. So even though I was skiving off PE, I skived off to practice the cello, but I still should have gone to PE. So I never liked sport at all until 3 years ago, when for health reasons, I had to take up a form of exercise. And I thought running would work because it's basically a means of getting from A to B quicker. And eventually I accidentally started enjoying it. And I actually ran the London Marathon last year, badly, slowly. But I do enjoy it. But you're right to put it bottom. Cello's definitely top. Yeah, I know, strange, huh?
Thank you. I like the image of your brownie badges. We're learning so much about you. Now we've got a question from Clara asking, have you had any embarrassing moments giving speeches as politicians, because you're kind of very much in the public eye, aren't you? A bit like being a musician when you must make a lot of speeches. Have you ever dropped all your papers or forgotten what you were saying, or are you all just too professional to have had any kind of
I forgot to put my shoes on once and I went up to speak barefoot, which was a mistake.
Could people see it, you think?
Yeah, it was at a Labour Party conference, so there were like 4,000, 5,000 people in the audience. It was a bit of a mistake.
I was there. I don't remember seeing your bare feet. I must have been
was
concentrating on your words, you see.
It was an error. It was an error.
It was an unforced error. Well, the thing is, in the Houses of Parliament, if you go in without shoes on, provided you're not on the front bench, nobody can see you. And I can tell you that there are quite a few MPs who kick their shoes off on a long afternoon, especially if you've got high heels, which I no longer ever will. But I've seen some female colleagues who've kicked off their high heels because it's just too much to stand up in them. Have I ever had any embarrassing moments with speeches? I don't think I have. I can't think of any. I tell you what, the embarrassing ones are when I just don't think I did a particularly good job. And that's not so much embarrassing as just sort of irritating, frustrating, disappointing?
I think I was trying to say, I was once trying to be really complimentary to someone that was sitting on a panel, and instead of saying I liked them, I kept saying I loved them and it became a bit strange. So I kept saying I love this person, and at the end she was like, do I even know you? I was like, oh no, the problem is someone, just before I went to speak, someone said, oh, this person's amazing, you've got to say that they're great. And I just was like, oh, okay. So I took it to heart too much, and I ended up looking, I think, slightly strange.
Do you think, Thangam, there's anything about being a musician that's helped you be a politician particularly?
Oh, yeah, totally. Absolutely. 100%. First of all, learning how to perform. And I think it's incredibly helpful to be able to read your audience. And also, somebody the other day, I made a speech and somebody texted me saying, your speech has got such a lilting rhythmic quality. And I said, honestly, I think it's because I'm a musician, because I do think that you have a better sense of rhythm just in general for having learned to play. And when I read my speeches, if I get it right, I write my speeches, I rewrite them, I read it out loud. And it's only when you read it out loud that you think, oh no, that the rhythm of that's wrong. And so definitely 100%. But the performing thing I think really helps, because I'm not nervous of an audience. Other than that, a nice way that you get sometimes before a concert when you're just sort of excited, nervous. I sometimes get that.
What about you, Emily? Do you think there's definite transferable skills?
Totally agree, because I was so used to performing in public, like playing solos or in groups, that when I started to have to make speeches, it was just the same, and I didn't have to worry about playing the wrong notes, so it was kind of easier.
That's true.
I didn't have to worry about bowing all the notes or being in tune, so it's actually, I think, a little easier. And yeah, you just have to get comfortable. And also the thing about music, and all of you guys will know, you meet so many people doing it, that in politics your job is about meeting so many people that you're just used to meeting. I just was used to meeting loads of people at courses and just you name it. So yeah, it's unbelievably helpful.
I think there's another way in which my own personal experiences was helpful, which was when I was a young musician. That's way back in the 1970s and the early 1980s. I was often the only non-white young musician in the room, and my dad, who was Indian, and he came from India, he was almost always the only non-white musician in like any sort of ensemble that he played in. And that, in some ways, in a rather sad way, was good preparation for being in politics. Now, I'm pleased to say I think music's changed a lot, and I'm really glad, but it definitely was. In some ways, it was good preparation for me to learn that was only ever someone else's problem. That didn't have to be my problem. And I'm quite proud of the fact that I haven't let it be a problem, but it is noticeable that politics is still quite a male and white profession. There's nothing wrong with being male and white, but I think it's good if there's more of a diversity. So there was a bit of preparation for there.
Brilliant. Great. So we've got a question now from, and another poll before I get to that question. Emily has a hidden talent for sniffing out a bargain. Okay. So what's the cheapest, she can find the cheapest flights, holidays, meal deals, car insurance, or all of the above. Okay. So we'll see.
That's brilliant.
We'll see what comes out there. Right. A question from Revika for you, Thangam. Do people sometimes think you're not committed to your job because you're a musician? Interesting question.
Gosh, that's really thoughtful. Well, all of us go into politics having done other jobs. Almost everyone. There's a few people who've only ever worked in politics, and that's gives you another set of skills. But most of us have done something completely different for most of our lives and bring it with us. There are some people like my friend Rosanna, who's a really good friend, who's a doctor, and she still does doctor things. So I put that really badly, but I mean, she still works at A&E sometimes, and I don't think anyone thinks it makes her a less good politician. I think people think it brings something to it. And when people found out I played the cello, I think people thought, actually, that's great, because it means that you know that politics isn't the be all and end all of absolutely everything. And I did another job. I used to work with people who were very violent and try and help them to learn to stop being violent. And you know, that also is something I brought with me. And I think it's better when politics has people in it that have full lives, because actually most people do not sit around only thinking about politics. And if you only end up with politicians that only think about politics, then they won't really be able to understand how most people live, and so we won't do such a good job, in my view.
Great, fantastic answer. Now it looks like our poll thinks that 61% think that all of the above you can find the cheapest prices for, but meal deals comes out well. Not so much holidays, flights, or car insurance. So, what? Tell us the answer, Emily.
I actually am quite good at all of them, if I say so myself. But actually, it's flights. I'm obsessed with finding cheap flights, and I will go stupid routes around the world. I used to go kind of crazy routes to get cheap flights. So if we're ever allowed to fly again, I'll be able to do it. And in the meantime, the meal deal is I really am a big fan of the meal deal, because I get very annoyed if certain things I want are not in it. So I go around looking for what the options are. I probably should stop doing that, spending so much time doing that. Car insurance. I got my parents an amazing deal on car insurance that they have not utilised. So thank you, guys. That reminds me.
Amazing, brilliant, great. So unfortunately I don't know where the time has gone, but we're really close to the end, so I'm just going to quickly share the screen again, so I can just remind everybody of what's going on this week. So after this, I know that many of you oh, hang on, I've gone the wrong way. At 5 o'clock today, which is in just over 15 minutes, I know many of you are going to go onto the doorstep to do the NYO Musical Planet, which we were talking about last week at the webinar, and we're really looking forward to you sending in photos and videos and anything of that. We'd love to see what you've been up to. Then next Friday, we are going to be joined by the category finalists from the BBC Young Musician 2020. These are guys that have just won, so they're not many years older than you guys at NCO. So we're going to be joined by Ewan Miller, who's an oboist who won the woodwind final. He was also a member of NCO. By Meggie Murphy, who is a trombonist, who was a brass finalist. And by Toril Azzalini-Machecler, who's a percussionist, and was also in NCO as well. So those three are going to be with us next Friday, which is going to be very exciting. And then on Saturday, next Saturday, it's going to be the premiere of Jess Gillam's Scratch Orchestra, which I know you have all been watching, and been part of, rather, sending in your videos. So we will be watching that to see if we can catch a glimpse of all of you. And I know a lot of you wear hoodies in that, so we can spot you really easily with your little NCO hoodies on. It's fantastic to see. And then the following Friday, I'm super excited to tell you we're going to be joined by some composers. And they're not just any old composers. They're Sam Thompson, who writes a lot for film, TV and video games. Very, very cool guy. And Anna Meredith, who is similarly amazing composer. And the last piece of hers I played was a concerto for beatboxers and orchestra. So she's super amazing, super cool. So get your questions, your thinking caps on. You can Google these guys before the webinars, listen to some of their work, see what they're up to, and make sure you join us the next 2 Fridays. So there's lots going on musically, which is fantastic. So I'm going to get out of the screen share, and I'm afraid we have like 2 minutes left. So shall we do our selfie?
What do we do?
Could you get your instrument? And then we could do something kind of funky and fun with our instruments. Okay, so if it gives you time at home to get your cameras ready, or I'm not quite sure what, I haven't even thought what I'm going to do. Have you thought what you're going to do, Emily? I think I might have
no idea.
That's
what I was going to do.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
I couldn't hear you then. Have I got to do something weird with my cello?
Something funky with your cello.
Something fun.
There's not a lot you can do with the cello that's fun, to be honest, other than play it.
Okay, here we go. That's good. Okay, 3, 2, or oh, hang on. 3, 2, 1, go. That is our webinar selfie of today. Thank you very much. So we'll make sure we share all that, and if you feel brave to share it on your political social medias, showing that politicians have lots of fun, then that would be brilliant.
Well, the Statutory Instruments has its own social media profile, so we should put them on the Statutory Instruments.
Definitely share it there. Definitely. Okay, so our very final question for you both, as to go out, could you give us a short piece of advice for your 12-year-old musical self, or your 12-year-old self? What would you say? What would you say, Emily?
Oh no, Thangam, you go first, please.
Well, I think I would say music it'll give you joy forever. So it's definitely worth investing the time that you're investing right now. And learn more languages, because it's really hard when you're my age to learn a language, and I'm trying at the moment. The Arabic, it's been taking me years, barely off the starter wheels, and Yeah, other stuff, but yeah, keep playing.
Yeah, I mean, same. Keep playing. Yeah, make amazing friends. Some of the best friends of my life are the ones I met playing music and at courses, and do fun stuff at courses that you're not supposed to, within reason, obviously. But it's just the most amazing fun, and still do it even if you decide to do something else at university. Keep playing. Some of my best musical memories were at university, and then afterwards, even if you're working in something else, just keep doing it. But it's the combination of friends and music is pretty cool. And even if you're having a tough time at 12, I hated being 12 when I read this question, but it gets way better. It gets way better. I'm very jealous. Like, you're gonna have an amazing time and playing with some really cool people. So have fun.
Great. Well, I'd love to, just before we say goodbye, to extend an invitation to you that maybe you'd like to play your Mendelssohn octet with some of our national children's.
Yay, that's a great idea. Except you'd be probably better than us, Emily.
You're way better than us. You can play the first violin part.
Yeah, you could play all the first parts, and we'll play the seconds. That's a great idea. We would love that.
Okay, well, that would be amazing. And so it's great also to make the connection with Bristol, because our offices are very close to Bristol. And our chair is the chair of Colson Hall in Bristol. So lots of Bristol love at NCO, and lots of lovely connections there as well. So,
but you're in my constituency, so I will come and see you all when we're back up in real life.
Brilliant. Great. So thank you so much. This has been an amazing, such a whirlwind 45 minutes. Thank you so much for joining us. Such a joy to talk to you, and you're so inspirational. And we will see all the NCO kids next week, and say a great big goodbye to Thangam and Emily. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks so much.
Have fun.